It is the 41st millennium. Mankind battles for survival across the universe, besieged on all fronts by the heretic, the mutant, and the alien. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. One faction of Space Marines stands amidst the chaos, the mightiest of the Emperor's warriors, and a beacon of light in the darkness. This legion, the 9th Legion of Adeptus Astartes, the Blood Angels.
Hello guys, good evening. I think you couldn't actually hear me for a second there. Sorry. Good evening. How is everybody? Let's see if I can turn this light a tiny bit and get out of the shot. Cool. Good evening, Steel Rain. It's been a little while. Good evening. Dark Ginger, what's happening? Jaeger Bomb, hello. I got your super chat the other night, Jaeger Bomb. Thank you so much for that. How are you? I feel like I'm playing Blood Angels as a generic chapter, Ultramarines in red. I really hope we get some good previews. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been saying that we are Red Marines at the moment. Is it a bit depressing? I don't know if I'm letting it depress me. I think I'm running a ton of armour, and I'm trying to keep a couple of Death Company units on my list. That's kind of how I'm looking at it, but I know what you're saying. It certainly does feel like... it does certainly feel like that a little bit. We're a little bit more generic than maybe we would like to be at the moment. So I'm going to start... I'm speaking of that, I'm literally painting armor units tonight. I'm working on a Ballistus Dread, I'm working on my Repulsor. I think my next purchase is going to be another Gladiator. I think I'm going to get myself a second Gladiator. I'm going to magnetize it as well, so I have the option to run it as any of the Gladiator variants. We're gonna have to wait until we see some sort of rebalance on infantry, aren't we? Who else was in the chat that I didn't say hello to? Eternal Crusader, good evening. Commander Cover Fire, good evening. Anthony Brown, it's my sign to paint Death Company. Yeah, every Saturday night. I say every Saturday night, most Saturday nights. Sometimes I was going to say sometimes I go out on Saturday night. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes I am out on a Saturday night. A little bit earlier of a stream tonight. And the Army List show is going out a little bit earlier tomorrow. If you missed last week's Army show, it's going out at 8:30 now on a Sunday night. So pretty much half an hour before the stream starts. That's the sort of time scale for the Army show. I think there was quite a lot of people submitted Army Lists this week. So if you want to come and talk about Army Lists, then we do that on Sunday nights. And we're going to try and make sure that the show is a bit more regular. We had a couple of weeks break there, probably the end of like 9th edition. No one really cared about the Army List show anymore. But people are starting to care again. People are obviously wanting to win games again. Everything has changed, obviously, in that everybody's running armor now, not just Blood Angels, every other army. So come along on Sunday nights and check out our Army List show. We can review lists, submit. The best way to get your list submitted or get your list on the show is to put your list as a comment to last week's show. So if you want your Army Lists, like for me to give it a review live on stream, put it on last week's show and we'll get it on. Eternal Crusader is stripping a Swarm War tonight. Nice. It's actually been really hot in Scotland today. I was supposed to do a barbecue today and I cancelled it because there was an 80% chance of rain, and then there was like no rain. There was like an hour of rain, but I could have totally had the barbecue. Go figure, that's Scottish weather for you. So, Gregory, good evening. Mike, good evening. I think next Saturday night I'm not going to be here, but Mike is going to stream on my channel. He's going to be a guest streamer. Our first guest streamer, I guess. So I think Mike is going to fill in for me next Saturday night. If you didn't watch the stream a couple of weeks ago, me and Mike had a good chat about Blood Angels. Mike's actually, at the moment, he's my commission guy. If I want something commissioned for Blood Angels, I get Mike to paint it. So Mike's going to be on here live, I think, next Saturday night. I don't exactly know what time yet, but I'll put an announcement out when I know. I think until we get the Codex Jägerbomb, there's a very good chance that I think they will improve the point cost on Sangre Guard. I think we could all agree the point costs on Sangre Guard are like 20-30% too high. Andrew asks what will be fixed first, Blood Angels or Warcraft 3. I was gonna say it'll be Blood Angels because Blizzard don't care at all about Warcraft 3. You probably see me tweeting. I was gonna say I actually haven't played much Warcraft 3 over the last couple of months, but Warcraft 3 was probably my favourite all-time video game. I played a lot of competitive Warcraft 3 and I do actually love the game. Just Blizzard don't give a shit about it and they never really update it. So I always, anytime Blizzard CEO is tweeting about other games, I always just have a little snide dig about Warcraft 3 and ask them if at some point they'll fix it, because I did buy it, like the remaster 3 years ago, and they've still not fixed it. Hold on a second. Annabella, are you in bed? I can see my daughter is not in bed. And now she is in bed. Okay, I might have to go AFK a second, we'll see. Todd says, I think people who are just used to the last couple of editions of Blood Angels have always been a bit more of a combined force. I think the annoying thing for people, and I could be wrong here, Todd, is that Blood Angels have been so melee heavy / focused for probably the best part of like almost a decade now. Because, I mean, I've been back in the hobby for about 7 years, and the whole time I've been back in the hobby, Blood Angels have been like a super melee focused chapter. You know, like when I first started my channel, I used to run, you know, those combined arms Blood Angels lists, like Blood Angels lists with a couple of Dreadnoughts. And I would get flamed, like I would get flamed on YouTube, and I would get flamed just in general for running too many Dreadnoughts and stuff in Blood Angels. So, Blood Angels have been a very, very, very melee-focused chapter for long enough, I suppose, that some people maybe have no units of armour. I'm lucky. I said this before, I've collected Blood Angels for the best part of like 20 years, so I have Vindicators, I have Land Raiders, I have Repulsors, Gladiators, I have everything, and loads of Dreadnoughts. So I'm very lucky, but I bet there's a bunch of Blood Angels players that do not have any of those armour units. And here's the thing, if you're a Blood Angels player that doesn't have any of those armor units, do you run out and buy all those armor units? For, I don't know, 6 months to 9 months till the Blood Angels Codex comes out? Or do you just have to wait? And I think that's probably what some people are struggling with, is like, people don't want to spend a lot of money maybe on units that they don't actually want to play, they just need to play right now because the balance is maybe a bit shot. Michael says I'm holding off on buying any new Space Marines until the Codex drops. Just going to concentrate on painting up my pile of shame for now. I think that's probably a great idea, Michael. I was very angry the other day when the... Because, I mean, I was angry a month ago when they told me all my Legend models couldn't get played anymore, because I'd actually... maybe Mike will tell you when he streams next week, but I'd actually just finished a commission from Mike where I... what were the 3 units I got commissioned? Oh, I actually got 4 units commissioned. But 3 of the units I got commissioned were the Terax Siege Drill, the Vindicator Laser Destroyer, and the Ironclad Dreadnought. So, you know, like, I basically had to buy those models, and then, you know, when you commission, that's fair enough, you accept that it's going to cost you more. But, I mean, it's a lot to... I guess for me it was very annoying to have just finished this commission, and that's my fault. I guess I picked those models, that's the models I wanted in the commission, for them to just be like, oh, you can't use any of those models now. So, yeah, no, I think I'm completely done buying any sort of Firstborn Marines. If I need more Firstborn Marines in any shape or form, I'm probably going to try and not buy them. I think I'm going to just focus my buying power on Primaris now, because it just feels too risky. Like, well, even if you buy them now and get them painted up tomorrow, you probably... Like, I don't know if we're going to see Firstborn Marines at all in 11th edition, right? In 11th edition will be here in 3 years. You know it will be here in 3 years. Every 3 years we get a new edition, right? So if we think that they're not going to be here in 11th edition, like, is it worth paying? Jaegermon says, do you think Vanguard veterans will get a buff? I don't... I think they consciously made that change, Jaegerbomb, to... I think it's a conscious change. You know, like how... And this is the thing that annoys me the most. You know how, like, if we look at, like, an assault squad, like the current assault squad, the one that's just gone away, basically, we could all say, well, assault squad's pretty cool, right? Because they get, like, if you think about an assault squad, they get some cool weapon options. You know, 2 guys can take eviscerators, a couple of guys can take melta-guns, etc, etc. Like, you can do some cool things with an assault squad, but, like, that seems to be the exact thing they're trying to get rid of, right? Like, if you look at Primaris squads, most of them have a singular weapon option or no weapon options. You know, like, I really do want to, like, I've got 6 Outriders, and I've thought to myself a couple of times, like, I really do want to try Outriders, but then I sort of remember that they only have chainswords and they have no weapon options, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to run them because they've got no weapon options. But I think that's kind of, in a way, Bladeguard are kind of the same. You know, like, I say Bladeguard are my favourite Primaris unit, but they also kind of have the same problem in that, like, they have no weapon options. They, you know, they just have the Mastercrafted swords, which is fair enough, and it's actually not a bad weapon. But if you didn't like that weapon, then there's no option to change it. And it seems to me that that's what they want to do with Primaris, is, like, have the squads a bit more like Horus Heresy, where, like, the squad itself doesn't have that many weapon options. So, like, a squad of Hellblasters, if you see them on the tabletop, you know exactly what they're going to do. Every squad of Hellblasters is kind of the same now. Which is fine, but, like, it removes a bunch of the customization, and in some ways I think it removes... I mean, I was going to say, in some ways I think it does remove some sort of level of, like, tacticality, or some sort of level of... I actually don't know the word, but it removes something that I mean, it's customization it's removing, but it's also, I suppose it's removing tactical flexibility in a way, right? Almarto says, hi, I love your videos. Almarto, hi, I love your comment. Thank you so much for coming on and saying hello. I don't think we've met before. I appreciate it, dude. Thank you. I actually have quite a lot of fun making YouTube videos. You'd be surprised at how exciting I can get about maths. But mainly, I want to do the maths so I can win games, right? Like, that's why I did the video on lethal hits this week. I was like, are lethal hits good, or have I just been getting crappy rolls with them? Mike, good evening. Alexander says, I was getting ready to buy Sniper Scouts, Assault Marines, and a Command Squad. Not anymore. See, that's the thing that gets me, right? I was pretty much ready to buy... I can't remember, I was going to buy something for Forge World. I had something on my list. I can't remember what I was going to buy, but I had a Forge World tank on my list. I think it was maybe the... That was it. I was going to buy that Horus Heresy box. You know, the one that had like this... Is it the Spartan? The big like 20 wound transport, toughness... I guess it used to be toughness 8 or 9, so it's probably toughness 12 now. And it had the 2 squads of Tartarus Terminators, and maybe there was some other stuff in the box. I think there might have been a character or two, and I think there might have been a plastic contemptor. I'd had that on my list, and I was like, I never bought it when it first came out. Probably just because like my pile of shame is pretty big. My pile of shame is always pretty big, but I never bought that Horus Heresy box when it first came out. But I had it on my list. I was like, cool, I'm going to get that Horus Heresy box at some point. I want to get it for sure before it goes away. I just don't, you know, like I had a lot going on. I don't feel like I desperately needed the Spartan, but I thought it would be cool, especially once they changed the rules and all the toughness of like vehicles went right on up. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get that for sure. And then it's really fortunate I didn't order it, because like literally it was probably one of the next things I was going to buy 40k wise. And then it's like, oh, all the Forge World stuff is Legends. I was like, oh well, I'm not buying that anymore. Normal Gamer says, I just started a Blood Angels chapter or army, and I'm scared to buy Death Company with jump packs. What I would do, if you're new and you need, you know, you kind of need those units to flesh out your army or something, what I would probably do is I would buy Primaris Death Company and magnetize some backpacks onto them, because it just feels too risky to buy the Firstborn units. Games Workshop actually do sell those jump packs, like in individual. You can buy like 5 jump packs for $5. You don't need to buy a box of Death Company. If you just go onto gamesworkshop.com and search jump packs, they do sell like 5 jump packs for $5. That's what I would do, Normal Gamer. I do feel like I am with you. I think it is quite risky to buy Firstborn Marines now. I feel like personally I'm just not doing it anymore, because well, I probably just lost the best part of like £2,000 worth of models in the last couple of months, I guess. And I only play competitive. Like, don't get me wrong, if someone says to me, hey, can I play a casual game against you, I'd say, yeah, sure. You know, like, I'm not so competitive that I will never play a casual game, but my primary focus in 40k is to work on army lists to take to tournaments. That's what I like doing. I don't go to as many tournaments as maybe some of the other big streamers, but hey, I've got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, man. It's kind of hard to, you know, the messed up thing is if I said to my wife, hey, I'm going to go away to all these tournaments, she'd probably be okay with it. But hey, you know, sometimes I have my 2 kids by myself for like 10 hours. They're not a nightmare, but it's hard work. So I don't like leaving my wife too many times a year to go away all weekend and have fun and play Warhammer and drink beer and stuff like that, you know? Like, I'll do a couple of tournaments a year, but I think beyond that, I think my wife's a superstar, and I wouldn't, you know, I'm not gonna take the piss, I guess. So that's where I stand. But yeah, it's I think it is a good idea maybe to consider buying just Primaris units and then doing conversions on them, because if you buy those Firstborn now, I don't know how much lifespan they have in them. I mean, if you go back an edition, right, like in the middle of 10th edition, Dark Templars got a refresh, And if we think for a minute about the Dark Templars refresh, right? The Dark Templars got a new Crusader squad, a Primaris Crusader squad, which I guess gets rid of their old Firstborn Crusader squad, and they also got Primaris Sword Brethren. So they got 2 specific Primaris squads. So if Blood Angels are getting a codex next year and there's any chance that they're getting a bit of a refresh, then you could potentially lose 2 Blood Angel squads next year, Firstborn. I mean, I'm not looking forward to that, I'll tell you right now. Sanguinius is love child. Sorry, good evening, Sanguinius' love child. Good evening, Marcus, how are you? Apollo Darkness says, message retracted. What was up, Apollo? David, hey, how you doing? I just played a 1,000-point game for Imperial Guard, which ended in a draw. I was heavy on jump pack units. Lehman Russes were very hard to kill. They are very hard to kill. I was killing Lehman Russes using double Vindicator tanks, using Oath of Moment and the Demolisher cannons. That made quick work of them, but I mean, that's probably hard to run double Vindicator in a 1,000-point game. David says, good family morals, mate. Yeah, well, family, my uncle always used to say to me, happy wife, happy life. And in a sense, it is very true. Like, but you could have respect in a family as well. So, you know, some people, you know, don't get me wrong. If your kids are superstars and you can go to all the tournaments in the world, go for it. But yeah, I try and keep it within check. Plus, I occasionally go away for a weekend to like see friends and just go drinking and stuff like that. You know, I got a lot of friends from university, so I just actually had a friend's birthday last month. So I can probably only realistically go to a couple of tournaments a year, which is sad. Maybe when my kids are older, I'll like do a season where I try and go to like a boatload of tournaments. You know, and I think that's the thing that annoys me the most about the Legends changes, because if a unit cannot be played in competitive play, it's going to sit on my shelf for 90% of the year. Maybe in that odd game that I have that's just casual, I can play it, but 90% of the year it's going to sit on a shelf and not get any play, which I feel very sad. Like when you've spent like £200 on a tank and then you've spent like a lot of time painting that tank, it's just a real feel bad moment where it's like, okay, that tank's kind of useless now. Did I say Black Templars? I don't know what I said. Howdy, says Velwing. Decided to hold off on buying new minis till all the Space Marines are announced, since they're getting rid of Assault Marines. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably holding off buying anything, and when I do buy stuff, I'm probably only going to buy Primaris stuff now for the foreseeable future. I probably have enough Firstborn, or have, you know, like if the rules come out again in the Codex and some of the Firstborn units are the best units, I'm still not sure if I'm buying them, because I'm just feeling jaded, I guess, after like a bunch of my Firstborn stuff just, well, I guess just went the way of the dinosaur, right? Like there's almost no point. It's a bit sad. Ridgecraft GW said that every Codex have said that GW said that with every Codex that comes out, the army will get at least 2 new kits. I'm hoping for the Sanguinary Guard and the Sanguinar. Okay. I didn't realise they'd said that every new Codex was getting 2 kits. Okay, that's interesting. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if they should have said that, because now people will be in the same situation that I'm at, where they're like, feels a bit risky to buy too many models right now if there's 2 new kits coming out. Even if the Codex is like a year away, I don't know. 2 new kits then. Okay. Where did you read that? Where did they say that? Ridgecraft. I didn't see that anywhere. Drizzle says, unless they want to give us our Primarch back anytime soon, or significantly rewrite or buff our characters in the Codex, I feel like we're playing second fiddle to Smurfs and Dark Angels. Yeah, I mean, our characters are not that strong. The only potential saving grace I think with that is that we know that we're not getting a Blood Angels Codex this year. If the Blood Angels Codex had been coming this year, then there would have been a real risk that our characters were very, very similar to what's in the index. And if the index rules aren't good, and you get, you know, when you get your codex shortly after the index, then you basically just get like almost a carbon copy of the index rules. But I think that happened in 9th edition. Like, Blood Angels was one of the first codexes in 9th edition, and as such, my opinion of the Blood Angels Codex in 9th edition was pretty low. Like it was a carbon copy of the 8th edition Codex. Like, there wasn't very much thought put into it, I think, to bring it in up to 9th edition Codex. So at least if we know our Codex is like a year away, there's time for them to put a bit of thought into it. But you're probably right, like, the Blood Angels characters as it stands, I don't think any of them are amazing. I think this week I actually just cut all of them from my lists. The only one I was running was Tycho, and I think next week I'm not running any Blood Angel specific characters. I guess we can debate those characters in the chat, or we can debate them in live streams, but yeah, tough. Tycho was probably quirky though. Like, I don't necessarily know if Tycho was good, he was just quirky, and I think part of me just wanted to run him because he was the only one that I really liked, but I don't know if he was actually competitive. I needed to play him a few more times. He was definitely quirky, which, like I said, I don't know if that actually means he was a valid character, if he was just quirky, and because I wanted to have a Blood Angels character in my list, I was like, okay, my character is this quirky Tycho. I guess you could definitely say that was a thing. So yeah, I've had these armor units. Well, I've had this repulsor pretty much since the repulsors came out, so it's probably like 5 years old, and I've never really bothered to paint it because I never really ran a repulsor or saw much value in it. But I guess now I'm going to be running repulsor maybe. So, well, at least until our codex drops, right? Darian says I'm going to miss the classic Firstborn look. I think everybody is, Darian. Like, I haven't seen anyone being like, yay, the Firstborn look's going away, you know? Like, I think they should have kept some more of the Firstborn characters. Like, I think, because I think I said this on one of my streams, was like, I actually own a boatload of Primaris models. Like, I possibly am one of the persons that, like, I've bought every single Primaris kit that's come out. Like, I don't think there's a single kit that's been released Primaris-wise that I don't have. You know, like, I even have, like, the Storm Speeder and Gladiator. I was going to say, in chat, start naming Primaris' kits and I'll tell you if I don't have one. But I've bought everything. Like, from Reavers all the way through to Redemptors. Oh, do you know what? There might be one. I don't have any tactical war suits because I think their rules have been trash ever since they released. I don't know what niche tactical war suits fit. So apart from maybe tactical war suits, I feel like I own every single Primaris kit. And, you know, just because and I probably bought just as many Firstborn units in that time as I bought Primaris units, because I'm a competitive player, so I'll buy whatever is strong in the meta for that season. So, yeah, tough times, man. Good evening, Turkey. How are you? Nice to see you dropping in. Mike's going to paint his new epic army, Angel Sanguine, just to piss off the lower people. Okay. Turkey's not motivated to buy Space Marines for competitive reasons. The range is just too damn big. I suppose the range is pretty big. Does that put you off? That puts you off buying for competitive reasons? Interesting. Never really been put off buying because the range is too big. That's not one of the ways I've looked at it, but I guess everyone's got their own way of looking at it from like a competitive sense, right? Good evening. Did I just say that? Good evening, Highland Phoenix. How are you? So, Highland Phoenix, with the removal of command squads, I know you were building 3 of them. What have you moved to, right? Because you must have changed up what you were thinking. Like, what are you thinking now? What's the next squads you're going to get? Pollux, I find it very weird as a returning player how it is even possible for not all factions to have a codex at the same time. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us have talked about that, and we've all said that it would be better if they dropped all the codexes at the same time. I think the reason they probably don't is that so like people can get excited about one army at a time and maybe buy models for that one army, but I think for the game it would be better if all the codexes got dropped at the same time. From like a competitive point of view and a balanced point of view, more of them would be balanced if they all dropped at the same time, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, we've definitely talked about that on my channel. Other big channels have talked about that, I'm sure. It's just the way that the game goes, I guess, is like through these like highs and lows, or lulls, or not entirely sure how you describe it, I guess. But yeah, it definitely goes on. There's periods where new armies come out and they're the hot shit. They probably make a lot of sales though. You know, like when a new army comes out and it's really strong, or an army gets a codex and for a little hot minute it's really strong, they'll get a lot of sales around that, I guess. So I guess that's kind of probably why they do it. I mean, they are a business that wants to make money, right? If you have a strategy that makes money, why would you change it, I guess? But yeah, I think the majority of competitive players would agree that if all the codexes for all the armies came out at the same time, one, they would be more balanced, and two, well, one, the individual codexes would probably have to be more balanced, and also that would, ergo, make the whole game a bit more balanced. But I was going to say, unfortunately, that doesn't really happen, I guess. Amit says the closest I've come to buying Firstborn is 3 attack bikes with the sidecars. Yeah, I guess they are useless now. I've got 3 of those multi-melt attack bikes. I'm wondering if I can just proxy them as Invader ATVs. I mean, are they that much smaller than Invader ATVs? I don't really know. I feel very loath to have to throw those attack bikes in the bin. I mean, I'm probably not going to throw them in the bin just because I spent a lot of time and effort on them, but I do feel a bit loath for some of the stuff where it's like, okay. They couldn't get the indexes right. I'd hate to think that the codex would look like if they dropped them at the same time. Well, that was the hope behind the digital rules, right, Ridgecraft, where they could drop everything at the same time. But the problem is you still have, like, you have those armies, like, I guess, GSC and Eldar right now, who are just so far above everybody else. I think they must have different teams working on different codexes, and I suppose there is a lot of rules to get through, but like I guess they need like a top guy. Like surely there's somebody that, well, if there's not, there needs to be somebody that goes through all the like as a codex complete, they read through it and they go, hold on a minute, this codex is 10, 20, 30% stronger than the last codex I just read. How is this balanced? And then technically they need to be able to catch that. You know, like we shouldn't be getting into a situation where it's like, oh, Eldar are just so far ahead of everybody. And we had this last edition, right? Last edition it was Nids, and I can't remember who else, but there was 2 armies last edition that were just miles ahead of everybody. I feel like Nids with their built-in transhuman, the Leviathan Nids, I think it was. They were just ahead of everybody for like, I feel like it was a long time, like 6 months, maybe even a year. Because I think they tried to nerf it in a balanced data slate, and then like 3 months later it was just like, oh, it didn't change. NIDs are still 65%, right? Like, I feel like that definitely happened. Serenade! You think the ATV is slightly longer and the bike is slightly wider? Well, then maybe people wouldn't have a problem with you proxying it. I don't know. I suppose you'd have to get one and put it side by side to decide if your TO would be okay with it, I guess. I don't know. David says the only firstborn in his list now are Death Company, Lucky, my Assault Squad, and Tactical Squads and Scouts are all usable heresy. Well, that's the thing. Like, somebody said to me that they think that they're trying to push like the older players, or they're trying to push some of the older firstborn players to try or play heresy or whatever you want to call it. But for me, I've never really been interested in heresy. It's always been like 40k that I've played, and 40k is what I want to play, and all my friends play 40k and not all of them play Space Marines, so I don't really have any interest in heresy. If I'm going to play another game, it would be like boarding actions, because I did just buy the terrain for boarding actions so we could get some games on the channel. But yeah, I guess the units that I have that are no longer available to play in 40k, I mean, maybe I just need to get a display cabinet for this room and they can sit in the display cabinet, because I'm not going to chuck them away, but I'm also probably never going to use them again. So what are you guys all working on, hobby-wise, tonight? Let me know in chat. Well, I was speaking to my friends because they talked in that article this week about like, hey, you'll still be able to see rhinos with tactical squads in it. I honestly can't remember the last time I saw a rhino with a tactical squad in it in a competitive game. I mean, not even a competitive game, just any game. No one ran tactical squads and rhinos, right? No one ran that in 9th edition. I feel like no one ran it in 8th edition either. So it's like, the article said that, hey, don't worry, you'll still see rhinos with tactical squads. I was like, well, yeah, nobody runs that. No one has been running that. The firstborn units that people run, like the Death Company, the Sanguinary Guard, they're the firstborn units that you would see game after game, or battle after battle, whatever you want to call it. Sanguinius says, Love Child is putting green eyes on all my units. Nice. Bad Francis is working on a Renegade Raven Guard chapter. I hope they're Primaris. Pollock is saying he's actually sitting on a Blood Bowl team. What do you mean you're sitting on it? Like, that can't be very comfortable. I don't know what you mean by you're sitting on it. Foz is working on the Incarn, the Banshees, and the Scorpion. Foz, you're hitting that Eldar way too hard, bro. It's gonna get nerfed, surely. You're gonna have to come back to the Blood Angels. Cavalry Fire is working on a 10-man Death Company with Chaplain and a Tycho proxy. So are you doing Firstborn without jump packs? If you're working on the Tycho? The Death Company on foot with Tycho? You gonna put them in a Rhino or something? What are you doing? Island Phoenix, the line in the article infuriated me. To keep tacticals and devastators, they need to keep assaults to complete the firstborn trifecta. Do you know what? A bunch of people do run drop pods with devastator squads. I mean, that's something that I have seen a lot. So I can understand that. But yeah, it seems really weird that they would give assault squads that really cool rule. But do you know what? The most worrying thing that I'm seeing is I think assault squads had some cool weapon options. It wasn't even a lot of weapon options. Like if you compare them against the Death Company, assault squads are kind of limited. Like they were pretty limited on their weapon options. I bet I'd be willing to put money on the new Primaris jump assault I think they're going to be, from what I understand, they're going to be called jump intercessors, or they're going to be called jump assault intercessors. That's what I've heard. I bet you they have less weapon options than the current assault squad, and if that's the case, I'm going to be very sad, because we're going to have lost a bunch of customization, we're going to have lost a cool squad, and what we're going to have is a generic... That's usually why the Primaris units are less good than the Firstborn units, because they don't have weapon options, and they're a bit more generic. And I feel like that's what's happening again. Suppressors are -1 to hit. Yeah, suppressors are -1 to hit against anything now, which I guess makes them better than they were previously. I had thought to myself I should probably like give the suppressors at least one outing, right? Like give them at least one game on with their generic -1 to hit against pretty much everything and see how they go. But I'm just gonna roll this tank around on my desk. God damn it! This apparently I was super messy when I painted that black paint on there. God damn it. The whole thing needs a little bit of a touch up. The Primaris Eviscerator, you think? Doubtful. Yeah, I doubt that we're going to get... I'd be surprised if there's any weapon option beyond the Sergeant, Island Phoenix. Like, I think we'll get, like, a Power Fist or a Thunder Hammer, or I guess a Power Sword on this... Or it won't even be a Power Sword, will it? It'll be a Power Weapon. I think that's all... I think that's all the options you're going to get on these new Primaris Jump Marines. So it'll be like 5 guys with chain swords, maybe 9 guys with chain swords, and then you've got like a tiny little bit of customization on the Sergeant. They might be battle line, I guess. But I'm really not sure. I'm not holding my breath too hard. UK Clubbing says we'll get 4 chainsword and a plasma on the Sergeant. Yeah, what's the plasma pistols are just ugh. I feel like they're rubbish. I suppose they do occasionally can do 2 damage, but I don't really rate plasma pistols at all. Lionheart is painting Calgar tonight because he says painting Calgar is better than painting Blood Angels. It's a very sad state of affairs, isn't it, Lionheart? I don't know. I don't really know what happened to the Blood Angels characters, especially like considering we've got 2 Primaris characters. You would think at least the Primaris characters would be really good. But I think both of them are actually quite average. I think a generic captain probably outperformed Dante, and then I think the problem with Mephiston is there's nothing you can really attach to that you want him to attach to. I think you want him to attach to a really good melee unit, and all he can attach to is assault intercessors, which are fine. They get some rerolls and stuff, but I wouldn't say they're a really good melee unit. I'd say they're a slightly above average melee unit. I mean, they can only kill infantry. They can't do anything against vehicles or monsters, really. If the jump intercessors can't run a full squad with claws, my Raven Guard buddy will have a meltdown. Well, I mean, I'd message him right now and get him to be prepared to have a meltdown. Because I doubt it. I really doubt you'll get that degree of customization on those. Yeah, I feel like there's a very customization on the first wave of jump troops. I bet you it's going to be really poor. I mean, I'd love to be wrong, but history tells me, or based on all those other Primaris units, that sort of the first wave of the new types of Primaris, the weapon options are really, really limited. So much so that, like, you might not even want to run them because they're so limited by their weapon options. I mean, like, go back to Intercessors, right? Like, if you think about Intercessors, we know now, like a Primaris Intercessor squad, the Sergeant can take like a Thunderhammer, a Power Fist, or a Power Sword, right? If we go back to the first version of Intercessors, the ones that came in the Indomitus box, I don't think they had any weapon option. Like, the Sergeant couldn't take any melee weapon. Maybe you could take a chainsword. Maybe you were able to convert him to a chainsword, but you certainly couldn't take a Thunderhammer or a Power Fist or a Power Sword. Mike says if they keep Hammer of Wrath, we'll run them. Okay, yeah, that's a very good point, Mike. If they do keep Hammer of Wrath, we will probably run them. How likely do we think they are to keep Hammer of Wrath? Vanguard veterans might get their Twin Lightning Claws back. Are Twin Lightning Claws that good now? Because I saw like people were excited that Sword Brethren got Twin Lightning Claws, and I don't know if I thought that made them any good, right? Like, are Lightning Claws good? Are they good in? I was going to say, are they good in 10th edition? Palgar is super good. Stats and abilities in his Victrix Guard and a unit of Blade Guard and his fists are 3 damage. Yeah, how does... So Calgar and the Victrix Guard, that's like one squad, and the whole squad attaches to the Blade Guard. If that happens, can you still attach... You know how normally when you attach like a Chapter Master, you can attach a Lieutenant as well? Can you still attach Lieutenant if you attach Calgar? And... Because he... Like, you can't take Calgar without the Victrix Guard, right? Like, it's cut the... Because I had a look at this in the Codex. It's Calgar plus the Victrix Guard, and it's like 205 points. Like, you can't be like, I want Calgar but no Victrix Guard, right? So how does that work when you attach them? Because that part I wasn't very clear on. Jägerbomb says, do you think we'll see new Vanguard veterans soon? I think based on the fact they told you to run your old Assault Marines as Vanguard veterans, I kind of feel like we won't see Vanguard veterans soon. I kind of feel like they're going to replace the Assault Squad, and they're going to replace, like, I was going to say, what else are they going to replace from the actual, like, from the models they discontinued, right? Because, like, we already have Outriders, we already have Storm Speeders. I'm not entirely sure. And I never paint big tanks like this. Well, I mean, I've done it before, I guess, but it doesn't happen very often, me painting tanks. Twin Lightning Claws are power weapons with 2 extra attacks and twin linked. That's definitely better than heirloom weapons. Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely better than heirloom weapons. What do I think about the Librarian right now? Librarian Dreadnought. My gut tells me that he's very expensive point-wise. Like, I think he's useful, but I think he's very expensive. Like, he's so expensive, like, I haven't been running him. Like, I guess I've just looked at his profile and been like, yeah, that's a little bit too expensive for what he gives me. Like, I like his rules, I think. Like, I think his, like, feel no pain stuff and his rules are pretty... I think that, like, that's useful. His teleporting infantry around the board is useful. I think the problem probably is more the fact that, like, infantry are just generally getting killed so fast. So I don't know if I want to spend 200 points on an armor unit that's supposed to move my infantry around when I know infantry just die in seconds. I think that's possibly the bigger problem than the like... That's probably a bigger problem than any problem the Librarian Dreadnought has, right? Is the fact that he's moving infantry about and infantry are dying so fast. Would you choose Astaroth or Lamartez in 10th edition? I think I would choose Lamartez. I think if you do choose Lamartez, just think of it, anytime you make a charge with Lamartez, I still think you need to play Red Rampage. If you didn't watch my video this week on lethal hits, then watch it. It came out yesterday. And I think that lethal hits that Lamartez gives on its own... I mean, maybe if you're like fighting toughness 3 enemies, then you can just have his lethal hits. But I think the second you're fighting anything over like toughness 4, you're going to want to just play Red Rampage on the Death Company that Lamartez is leading. And I think the -1 damage that he has is cool. But yeah, I think my experience tells me that lethal hits on its own isn't enough of a damage buff. I also don't know if I really rate Astaroth at all. I just think Lamartez is probably better at the moment. -1 damage over like 1 turn of devastating wounds. If it was like guaranteed devastating wounds, great, but it's not. It's just normal devastating wounds on 6s. So when you run Astaroth 1 turn, you'll be able to do like a handful of mortal wounds. I don't think it's worth it. And remember, if the enemy has like -1 damage, then -1 damage still gets applied to any mortal wounds done by devastating wounds. So if you fight a -1 damage enemy and you still roll 10 6s rather with power fists, you still have to take off 10. You would still have to take off like 10 damage worth of what am I trying to say? You'd still have to... So 10 power fists, even if you rolled all 6s for the wound rolls, you would only do 10 mortals as opposed to 20. Make heirloom weapons equivalent of Sturgar or combis. What would that mean? You just want devastating wounds on the Vanguard weapons? I would like to see more kits being upscaled than what we just had. Like, could we have kept scouts and just made a new Primaris scout kit? And if you still had the old scouts, you could still use them, but you have the option of buying the new cool scouts. I think that would have been a much better solution because people wouldn't have been pissed. A lot of people are pissed. You know, like if they said you can still use your current rules for scouts, but we're going to bring out some Primaris scouts, you probably just need to get your current scouts on the new base size and you can play with them. I think that would have been so much... Like, it's like the new Terminators. Like, I really liked how they brought those new Terminators out. And if you had the old Terminators, that's fine. You can still use the old ones. The new sculpts are much better, but you can still use your old ones. Because people, like... Well, I 100% do not need any new Terminators, right? Like, I don't need them. I still have Rogue Trader Terminators, and I have, like... I was going to say, I've got so many... Like, literally so many firstborn Terminators. Like, let's say, like, I got like 50 of them. Maybe not quite 50, but close. Probably, actually, maybe it is close. Probably is 50. So, like, I got 10 of the new Terminators. And I already got 50 of them. So there's literally no reason, like, I have no reason to have them. Because I already get 50. I got every weapon option I could ever need. And, you know, I just don't need them. But it's cool. And now I have an option of making some new, unique looking ones that are bigger and more fun to make. But at the same time, they didn't remove all the ones that I've had for years. And I think that's a much better option because, like I said, I think it's proof. Like, if they do that, I'm happy to buy 10 new Terminators. Like, I'm not upset about it at all. Hey, I've got 10 of the new Terminators. I'm looking forward to doing them. They're not my highest priority, but I've got them and I'll do them at some point. Whereas with the stuff getting, like, removed from the game, it's completely different. It's like, oh my god, you've removed this thing that I spent time and effort on. It's just a negative. Whereas it was like, hey, you know, we know attack bikes are a really old sculpt, so we've made new attack bikes that look way cooler. But if you want to still use your old ones, you can. So what would have happened would have been like, well, I'll use my old ones until I've got a bit of money or I've got a bit of a break. And then I'll get the new ones, right? Whereas, like, now it's just the opposite, where, like... Well, how many people in the chat tonight and how many people in the last couple of weeks have been like, right, well, I'm not buying anything else. Because I'm sick of my models getting removed without me having any sort of say in it. You know? And there was none of that with the new Terminators. Everyone was happy. Everyone was like, oh, cool, look at these amazing new Terminators. I'm really happy I can still use my old ones until I've bought the new ones, you know? I don't know. I'm maybe the minority, but that's how I think anyway. That's what I want to happen with Sangreguard now. Like, asked me a couple of years ago, I would have loved new Sangreguard. Now I don't want new Sangreguard at all. If they make all 30 of the Sangreguard I've painted, or the, you know, all 30 of the Death Company I've painted, basically useless to me, that's just gonna make, I'm just gonna be annoyed, man. Like, I just don't want that anymore. I just want them to be like, White Scar players are the best off. Yeah, if you were a White Scar player, you literally lost your whole army, dude, because every single unit that was in that list were like core on White Scars. All those bike squads. I mean, White Scars could run Outriders, but I feel like they were better using the old bikes because they had like Flamers and Meltas and I think you could have Thunderhammers on the White Scar bikes. I actually don't know all the weapon options, but I don't know if many White Scar players were like in love with Outriders, whereas I'm pretty sure they were in love with like the old bikes. Mike says, you're right, John, give me upgrades and don't make my investment void. Yeah, because I think making your investment void is just a huge feel-bad moment, dude. You know, like, with the Forge World stuff, like, I just think of all the time I spent on that Forge World stuff, and I remember, like, the pride I felt when I finished that tank. I mean, that tank's it was literally the centerpiece of my entire collection. Like, it's the thing that I was probably the most proud of, right? We don't have a Primarch, so we don't have, like, a giant big model to paint. So that tank was a giant big model that I spent literally hundreds of hours on, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, that model's completely useless. And I don't need anyone to tell me, oh, but you can play it in a friendly game because it's Legends. I was like, I literally have one friendly game a year, and usually when I have my friendly game, you know, like in 9th edition I had one game of, what was it called? What was the card game in 9th edition called? Kind of like what we have now, but it was Tempest of War. I literally played Tempest of War once in 9th edition and went, I don't like it. So if you're going by the same reasoning, then you're saying what, like, my £300 tank can be used once in the whole of 10th edition. I just think it's a real feels bad moment for people. I don't need a discount on the new Sangreguard drizzle. I just want my old investment in models to not be made worthless. That's what I want. and I'll buy the new stuff. I mean, 100% will buy the new stuff. If you know, like I said on the video I made, I possibly have got one of the biggest Primaris collections of everybody I know. I know some people do Primaris only army lists, and maybe those guys have bigger collections than me, but like, I have a lot of Primaris models, like almost every one. Multiples of a bunch of them, right? I just don't want my old investments to all feel like they have no value now, after all the time and effort I spent on them. And it has nothing to do with balance. It literally has nothing to do with balance, because the 10th edition balance is terrible. Like, it's just like, don't bring infantry, just bring armor, is how you win in 10th edition. And maybe that's a tiny bit extreme, but it's also not. Like, armor is just way too good in this edition, so saying you need to remove Assault Marines from the Space Marine Codex because of balance is not true. Assault Marines are not a problem in the Space Marine Codex. The problem in the Space Marine Codex is like the Primaris Lancer being far too cost effective to do 18 damage at 72 inches away. Like, there's your problem. White Scars are going to get new bikes because they literally have no army. Well, I mean, I guess you would have to have a lot of Outriders now if you want to be White Scars, but I don't know if White Scars are getting if they're getting like their own detachment in the Space Marine Codex. I imagine they are, but I mean, I guess nobody knows yet, right? Sin's just going to wait for the Christmas box at this point. What's yeah, the Battle Force at Christmas, interesting. The Battle Force is usually themed on a specific chapter though, right? I feel like. Todd says it seems like a sneaky way of clearing shelves. I think the timing was just really bad, Todd. Like, they just should have, I think... I mean, the timing was really bad. Like, they should have... they should have announced all the legends probably at the same time. Because by not announcing the legends at the same time as Forge World, people saw all the index cards and got excited for the rules around the index card. And like, I think back, like, I feel like there was no doubt in my mind that like Assault Marines were good now and that I needed to have Assault Marines in 10th edition. Like, I feel like there was no doubt in my mind for that. It was just like, oh cool, Assault Marines are... this is their rules. They've got an index card. It's a printed card that's like gonna last for a while in the edition. You know, I need to get myself some Assault Marines. That's kind of how I felt it. That's kind of how I felt it went, I guess. And there was no doubt in my mind that you would want Assault Marines. And I guess a lot of people must have felt this, like, because I was building Command Squad as well, because I thought, like, oh, the Command Squad's really good now. And, like, you know, Highland Phoenix was actually building 3 Command Squads. We joke about it now, I guess, but you had decided to convert and invest in 3 Command Squads. So, like, a bunch of people had felt that because these units have index cards, these are going to be the rules for this unit for at least a while. You know, like, at least a... I would have thought the Command Squad would have been... Yeah, I really would have thought that they would have just been probably the whole edition. Here's the thing, says Eternal Crusader. Outriders suck. I've been saying it since they got released. The Outriders suck and they need weapon options to be of any use whatsoever. It was different for like White Scars because they could get +1 damage on the charge or something with all those chain swords. So like for White Scars, Outriders were okay, but for everybody else, they do suck. And they were never that competitively point costed. So yeah, it was a strange one, I suppose. You can also join a lieutenant to the Calgar unit. Have also tried 10 Sternguard veterans with bolt rifles against, and 2 heavy bolters with Tigris, a 4-up ability against psychic and mortal wounds. Nice. I mean, the 10 Sternguard is actually a pretty cool squad. The issue I have with the Sternguard, and I think it's probably, like I said, it's probably going to be the same issue we see with the Assault Intercessors. Like, if you look at the Sternguard, the Sergeant isn't allowed a melee weapon anymore. You know, so this is like... The Sternguard Sergeant always could take a melee weapon. But now he can't. And I don't really know why he shouldn't be able to take a melee weapon, because he's a squad sergeant and most of the sergeants have melee weapons, but for some reason the Sternguard Sergeant can't take a melee weapon, and that's sort of the worrying thing about some of the Primaris squads, is they're overly limited in weapon options for no real good reason from what I can see. And again, they might cite balance, but I really don't think it's a balance thing. I don't think giving a Space Marine who has about 3 attacks, a Power Fist, on a squad of Sternguard unbalances the squad. It just makes the squad like less of a wet noodle in close combat, right? I mean, you've got friggin' Aspect Warriors that can charge 30 inches and delete a whole squad of Marines. How does giving a Sergeant a weapon option unbalance the Marines? I really don't think it does. There isn't a Primaris equivalent of a command squad. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty annoying, isn't it? Trivial Pursuit, if it was a copyright issue, they could have just renamed the Assault Squad, honestly. They stated that range was too large when they made the cuts. Yeah, I mean... Yeah. You could argue that they said the range is too large to make the cuts, but like... They're making it large themselves, right? Like, they're the ones introducing all the Primaris units. Whereas they could have picked the current units and made better Primaris versions of them. They didn't need to. I don't know. I feel like it's a weird one. I mean, there's so many. Yeah. Well, there's nothing we can do now. All those firstborn units are gone. And I guess be very wary if you are planning on buying more firstborn units. Because I feel like at this point you just don't know how long you're going to get to play with them. And if you're like me and you buy a squad and it takes you 6 months to get it fully finished, then, you know, you could actually have very, very little time before you can like get to use it properly, and then I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I saw someone that had a crazy list last week, where they had like, I think it was a list with 9 Predator tanks in it. And honestly, before they culled those firstborn, I was probably on the fence. Like, I was like, maybe I need to buy another Predator tank or 2. Like, I could probably totally have justified adding another Predator tank, but now I'm like, I just don't want to add anything that's going to get cut. I just really don't. Space Marines aren't a collection, they're subscription services, Turkey. Yeah, I mean, I think that's... Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess I'm living... Like, I feel like I'm never getting to use those units again. but I'm not throwing them away. So I don't know how I'd love it if they changed their mind. I would absolutely love it for them to change their mind and be like, yeah, everybody's upset about these firstborn changes. You know, we hear what you're saying about like the new Terminator kits and how we think and how people think it's good that you get to keep your old ones, but you can buy the new ones when it pleases you. I just think that's so much better. Doesn't, because like, if I'm happy as a customer, I feel like I spend more than if I'm unhappy. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe you guys are like, John, you don't know what you're talking about. But like, if I'm already like, other people are saying this, like they're worried. People are worried that they're going to buy models that aren't going to be there anymore. Carter, what's happening? Good evening. If people are worried and then they're not buying stuff, like, does it not just make more sense? Would it have not just made more sense to make a change like the Terminator one where everyone's happy, everyone's still buying stuff because they're like, oh, cool. I don't know. Oh, I feel... I'm just telling you how I feel. In the grand scheme of things, I know nothing. Anyone use multiple aggressors at all? Buffed by the biologists or the storm speeders? Someone was asking me this week why no one seems to run aggressors. I actually don't know. I have 6 of them. I thought they were going to be good in 10th edition. I guess they're toughness 6 now, so I mean, I probably should try them. I've just never got around to it, Highland Phoenix. How much are you for 3 aggressors? Like, how many points is that? It's maybe just the fact that, like, they have no invulnerable save, and Terminators got an invulnerable save, and Terminators went to toughness 5, and I actually don't know if there's all that much difference between toughness 5 and toughness 6. You know, like, in the old edition, there was definitely, like, a break point where it was like, I don't think there's much difference between toughness 5 and 6. Like, there's a difference between 4 and 5 for sure. There's a difference between 6 and 7. But, like, I don't know if there's that much difference between 5 and 6, and maybe that's where aggressors sit, right? They sit on like toughness 6, and you're like, well, if I'm going to spend these points, maybe I should just get Terminators because they have a 4-up invan, and that's good. Have I been on the skateboard this summer? Yes, I have, Carter, but definitely less, and definitely not at top speed as much. Because before I used to just put the throttle on the skateboard down like absolute max all the time, top speed everywhere I went. And I think, obviously, having broken a bone last time I had an accident on the skateboard, there's like a subconscious part of me where I like just don't know if I feel comfortable. It's probably just because it's like, if you're on the skateboard at like 7 or 8 miles an hour, it's probably quite safe. But if you're on it at like 12 to 15, it's probably quite unsafe. And like, there's not actually that much difference in speed in terms of like, I'm not going for giant, like I used my skateboard for commuting. So like, it would be, the commute would take like 2 minutes more if I'm going at 8 miles an hour or 12 miles an hour. And like, when you go at 12 miles an hour, you can like literally break your arm in 1 second. So yeah, I have been on the skateboard, and I did feel comfortable enough when I was back on it, but at the same time I also was a bit more responsible. I mean, I don't think I was irresponsible on the skateboard before. When I fell off my skateboard and broke my arm, it was icy, and I didn't realize it was icy. I looked out the window and it wasn't actually that cold that day, and there definitely didn't see any ice on the street, or I wouldn't have been skateboarding, right? Yeah, I have an electric skateboard, you know, like it has like a it's got like a USB remote, a Bluetooth remote. So you basically have I was going to say, I don't know if I've got the accelerator up here to show you. No, it must be downstairs. It's just like it's about the size of a cigarette lighter, and it just has like 3 gears and forward and back. And, well, forward and brake. It does actually go backwards as well. I don't really know why you'd want to go backwards on a skateboard, but you can. So it has backwards. I'm going to try this Ballistus Dreadnought on my next live battle report, but from what people are saying, it's not worth it. But I guess we'll try it. Dasman says I bought Aggressors because they look cool. I've decided to lean into the rule of cool because GW is changing things so much without warning. It's probably not worth buying things because they're good. Yeah, I mean, I think buy Primaris models because they're good, Dasman. Just don't buy Firstborn anymore because they're good, because it's just too risky. I mean, unless you've got plenty of time and money and you don't care. But if you're living in the real world, then just be aware of that. 110 points for Aggressors. For 3 of them. Let me think about that. I mean, actually, if you're 110 points for 3, that's not too bad compared to the points of Terminators. They have a tiny bit of AP better on... Like, the bonus for Aggressors is they get +1 AP if they shoot the nearest target, and I guess they got twin linked on their fists. I mean... I don't know, there's something... There's something with Aggressors, like looking at them on paper, there's just something about them where I'm like... I don't know why, I just don't know if I feel like they're that strong at 110 points. I can't put my finger on why I don't think they're strong. I'm just not sure that I think they are. Anyone else than Dasman running Aggressors? And if so, what are you thinking of them? Are they worth it? Are they good? The problem with Aggressors is Terminators that exist and GW has not dropped them. I guess they're slightly... They do fill very similar roles, right? I think it probably just comes down to the invuln. Like, if you're looking for a durable unit with above toughness 4, then possibly Terminators seem like a better choice because of the invuln. Like I said, I don't know if I feel like there's that much difference between T5 and T6. I mean, sure, there's the odd weapon, like heavy bolters will be worse against Aggressors than they are against Terminators, but for the most part, people are going to use higher strength stuff like plasma on elite infantry like Terminators or Aggressors, and then they have the same wound roll, right? Yeah, I don't really know why Aggressors' power fists have to hit on 4s. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, their arms are literally power fists. They're all about melee combat. The Aggressors' power fists should probably hit on 3s. Maybe if they hit... Maybe that's what's put me off them, actually. Because Terminators have multiple ways of getting +1 to hit as well, with Oath of Moment and stuff. Yeah. It comes down to how you get the Aggressors there, and while they... Yeah, I mean, you're right, Aggressors' weapons do have short range as well, and how do you get them in? You know, I'm running Repulsor at the moment, so I could try some Aggressors inside. Like I said, I don't necessarily think they're bad, I'm just not... I'm not sure they're great. And that's the thing, when it comes to competitive play, usually people go for models that are quote-unquote great, and that's what people want to focus on, right? Invuln, teleport, strike, and weapon options from the Terminators probably make them better than the Aggressors. Yeah, I mean, the only thing Aggressors really have going for them over the Terminators is the fact that you can take them in a 3. So you can fit them in at the end of a... You know, like, it's quite hard to fit Terminators into, like, certain lists now just because they're, like, 205 points. I think Terminators are actually probably overcosted a little bit. Based on my experience having run them a couple of times in 10th edition, I don't think they're as good as the points cost. I think they would have probably been fine where they were, like 165 points. Yeah, they have a couple of nice buffs, but I think they've given up. You know, they've given up a bunch of AP, and I think that's probably more important than the buffs they get. Because, like, their Chain Fists used to be -4 or -5, now they're just -2. And their Chain Fists used to wound, like, loads of stuff on, like, 2s or 3s. Now, yes, they wound vehicles on 3s, but, you know, no bonus against our monsters or anything for those Chain Fists, right? You think that Terminators would just be better than Aggressors? Do you know what? Aggressors might be really good in boarding actions. That might be the place to play Aggressors. Oh, me. Is there any other decent shooting and melee units competing with Aggressors? See, I don't know if I think Aggressors melee... I don't know if I think their shooting is good. Because it's 0 AP and it's strength 4. And 0 AP and strength 4... I don't know if I constitute that as good shooting. I usually constitute like 0 AP and strength 4 as like pretty low value shooting. Like you can maybe nick a wound here or there, but like Aggressors don't have enough weight of fire to do more than 1 or 2 wounds. I reckon probably 2 wounds would be good onto most targets from them. Tom the Toad says, I have a video, an old Bladeguard video v Terminators video from 9th edition. Terminators are a bit better than them so far in 10th. Do you really think that Terminators are better than Bladeguard in 10th? Because I've used both and I think I prefer Bladeguard. Terminator's a bit more survivable, I guess. But I think the thing I like about Bladeguard is you can run them in 3s. I suppose it depends on your army and how you're using them, but yeah, for me right now, I feel like if I was going to include Terminators or Bladeguard, I feel like I'm because I've run both in 10th. And I feel like the 3-man Bladeguard squads are better. I guess they would do less damage, but I feel like they're more likely to be alive and more likely to score me some points than the Terminators. I also think it's weird how 1 inch of movement can make your unit feel so friggin' slow. Because Terminators with a 5-inch move feel so friggin' slow. Which makes me worry about Centurions. They must feel super, super slow with a 4-inch move. But I guess a 4-inch move is technically 50% less. Is it? No, 33% less than a 6-inch move. You said decent, not good, Foss. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I still feel like I haven't played enough games of 10th edition. I think I've played 6. And I've won the last 2. But yeah, I definitely feel like I've got a lot more games to play. That's why I haven't rushed out to book any tournaments. I was giving myself like 3 months, 4 months or something to get up to speed with the rules and stuff before I rush out and book any events, something like that. Okay, I got like 5 more minutes, guys. I was up super early with my kids, so I'm pretty tired tonight. Toughness 5, 2+, an actual gun, and a deep strike are all nice. I've been really unimpressed with my Terminator's deep strikes. You know that? Like, I think I put assault cannons on one of them, and I think I put cyclone missiles on the other one. But, yeah, storm bolters with 0 AP. Just, I don't know, I must have just fought armies where 0 AP just felt rubbish. I guess into certain armies, 0 AP can feel rubbish. So this is a bit of plastic that's from the Ball Predator kit. So I found that I had one Ball Predator kit with like a few of these Blood Angels decal things. I'm not entirely sure what you would call these. But yeah, so Army List show tomorrow night. Earlier start time, 8:30. So it's 10:30 in 5 minutes time here in the UK. So you want to do Army List tomorrow, it'll literally be 2 hours from now. 2 hours earlier from now. So 22 hours from now is the new start time of the Army List show for at least a few weeks. Trying out a new time. I'll be more awake at that time because previously I was doing it like last thing on a Sunday night. It was kind of draining to do it on a last thing on a Sunday night, so it'll be a bit earlier. I'll have a bit more energy. We'll get through a bit more Army Lists hopefully. John, are you preparing for jump intercessors? They're imminent, and they will be adding jump packs to your assault intercessors or buying whatever in the new kits is. I mean, I'm angry, James, so I'm probably going to proxy jump intercessors as the assault squads that I have, or other models, because if they're just marines with chainswords, then there's that, and I don't think they're going to have weapon options. I really don't think they're going to have any weapon options, and I'm angry that all my old models basically got discontinued. So yeah, bottom line, I suppose, is that I'm angry that... So I'm going to try and probably just use the models I have. But I mean, you're right, I do actually have a couple of sets of Assault Marines, Assault Intercessors that never got built from the Indomitus box. Was it the Indomitus box? Yeah, I think it was the Indomitus box. I think I've got at least 2 sprues of Assault Intercessors. So we'll see, I guess. I could just buy some third-party jump packs. But yeah, I know I'm pretty angry about, you know, all my Forge World stuff being useless, and now a bunch of my Firstborn stuff being useless. I'm worried about the future of my other Firstborn stuff, to be honest. So it's kind of stripping any excitement I have of a new kit away, because I'm just dreading what I'm going to lose, or what I have already lost. Like I said, I was so happy with the new Terminator kits, not basically making all my old Terminators redundant, because I had so many. If they'd made all 35 of my old Terminators redundant, boy, would I have been angry. It takes me, because I got 2 kids, I got a family, I get a full-time job, and I also spend quite a lot of time every week making YouTube videos, probably somewhere between 10 and 15 hours. So I don't have a lot of hobby time. It takes me about a year to do 1,500 points of painting to a standard that I'm happy with, because I do spend a lot, like, oh, you know, here's the Ballistus Dreadnought, right? So I probably spent like probably at least 2 hours on this guy so far. He's nowhere, literally nowhere. I'd say he's like maybe less than 5% done, something like that. This tank probably spent like 3 or 4 hours on it so far. Again, it's nowhere. Probably 10% done. I mean, all this black needs a second coat, so you could maybe even argue it's less than 10% done. So, I know I'm super slow at painting. I know that. And I know I could do more painting if I didn't do the YouTube channel and the YouTube videos, but that's what I do. So it takes me about a year to do 1500 points to a good level of stuff. So if they just wipe out 1500 points in my army, I just lost a year of progress. It's a tough pill to swallow, man. I wish squads could have 2 leaders attached regardless. Lieutenants don't count towards. I think they will relax some of the squad restriction stuff in the future, Highland. I think they're probably worried about balance at the start and they wanted to see how things shake out. I think there might be some more relaxation of them, and I think Blood Angels, you know, like, there's silly restrictions, like the Sanguinary Priest cannot go with the Sanguinary Guard. A lot of people are caught out by that, actually. James says he thinks that the Assault Intercessors, or the Jump Intercessors, will be the same as the ones on foot. I think so. I don't think they're going to have any exciting weapon options, which I think is a little bit sad, but I think that's reality I think that's just going to be the reality of the situation, probably. Have you thought about selling your old stuff? I don't really want to sell the old stuff. I mean, I've made it in, you know, like it sits on my shelf. Up until recently, for example, my Forge Roll tank was kind of my pride and joy. Like, I don't know if I'm selling any of my old stuff. Like, it all matches, everything's done together. You know, I was very proud of it. So, I mean, I could sell it. But, I mean, I've got a big enough pile of shame that I can just... Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like selling old stuff. I feel like I'm more... yeah, I just feel like I'm more resistant to buying new stuff unless I 100% need it now, because... that's kind of where I'm at. Carter says not being able to use Forge Rolled kits is such a kick in the pants. It's a lot of money for things that are less than a year old. It's wild. Yeah, I mean, you know, the Kratos tank actually is a good example, and it was a new Forge Rolled tank that people bought. Like, I very almost bought a Kratos, and like, you barely even got that to use that. Like, I don't even know if it was released a year ago. But yeah, you know, what's messed up, Carter, is that if you go and read the rules, like the legend rules for Leviathan Dreadnought, like a Leviathan Dreadnought, basically its rules are 90% the same as a Redemptor Dreadnought. It has like slightly different weapon options. It has the same armor, it has the same save, it has the same toughness, it has the same points cost. Like, there's no reason Leviathan Dreadnoughts couldn't be in this new edition. It's got nothing to do with balance, because they're basically they're carbon copies of the Redemptor rules. I mean, they're always pretty close to the Redemptor rules, but they just are basically the same now. So I don't even understand, because like, people would have bought Leviathan Dreadnoughts. I have bought Leviathan Dreadnoughts because they're cool. Same as people bought Contemptor Dreadnoughts because they were cool. So like, I don't even really understand why they needed to make those things legends, but I guess that's the thought behind it. And yeah, it is a lot of money for folk, but I think for me it's probably more about the time investment than the money, because the money's already spent. And I suppose you could argue the time is already spent as well, but the time was spent because the time was spent like in good faith. Like, I thought I was going to have this model to be able to play with whenever I want it, and it was going to fit. And you know, like, no one, well, somebody maybe did, but I want to say like nobody won a GT with Blood Angels, or even with any of the Space Marine chapters in 9th edition with a super heavy tank on their list. I was going to say maybe there's an edge case where somebody did, but I feel like for the most part nobody did. So I don't even know if you can say, oh, it's because there was too much Space Marine stuff, we had to balance it. Because no one... You know, did anyone actually win tournaments with even, like... Leviathan Dreadnoughts in their list? I don't think those things were necessarily that highly competitive. I think they were fun. They weren't designed to be highly competitive. I mean, they all... Last edition, they all had that one CP tax on them that probably made them uncompetitive anyway, right? Not Telling says, it's basically why I got an airbrush. Base coating minis go so fast. I play Angels Vermilion, so my scheme is a little darker. You know, I probably need to get an airbrush. It would probably help me. The problem is, I don't know when I'd find time, because most of the time when I'm painting, I'm chatting to you guys. I'm not sure I can do that in airbrush. But it's fine. I mean, I've always painted by hand. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm not quitting the hobby. I'm just saying that, like, I don't want more of my models to become useless because of, like, no better reason than they can't just make a new kit. Like, just make a new kit for the, like, couldn't assault squads just have become Primaris assault squads? Why they need to be... I mean, maybe they've had to change their names so they could be copyrighted, that's fine. But, I don't know. Do they even copyright the names of individual units? Do they do that? Is that why everything's got, like, unique proprietary... I don't know, do they? Maybe, I suppose. I would have thought they would have just copyrighted Warhammer and they would have been like, okay. I don't know. Okay, well, I'm going to try the Ballistus Dreadnought next time I play. I kind of almost am at the point where I've got 3 colours on it. Carter says he was so happy to get his Leviathan Dreadnought, he never even get to use it. You know, I just finished, Carter, my Terrax and my Vindicator Laser Destroyer and my Ironclad. So I got to use my Terrax, I think, in one tournament. Yeah, I got to use it in one tournament. And I never got to use my Laser Destroyer, and I never got to use my Ironclad before they got Legends. So, you know, I spent I don't know, in my last, I spent like $500 and got to use one model one time. So it's hard not to be bitter about that. And good evening, Pinkle. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. The way the game is at the moment, we'd be seeing Vindicator Laser Destroyers and Sicarians all over the place, but that's not our fault. That's really not our fault, is it? I don't know, I feel like I'm a pretty big GW customer in that I've got probably like £10,000 worth of Blood Angels. I think it's, maybe it's not 10,000, 5,000? Like, I'm always buying Marines. Like, I'm just always buying them. Like I said, like, I got 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts. You get 2 Ballistus Dreadnoughts. You know, like, I'm about to get 2 Gladiator tanks. Like, I get multiples of all the new kits. So yeah, maybe some of the customers are 20 to 45-year-old mothers. But I don't...
I have awoken.
Hey, Captain, thank you so much for subscribing. I'm not sure a mother walking into a GW store is ever going to spend as much as an actual invested player. I could be wrong, I guess. I did see that same thing. I think that was in the Painting Phase podcast, wasn't it, Anis? Synax says, hell, I'm happy with my 2 Blood Angels Contemptors. I mean, I was happy with all my Dreadnoughts. And I probably put... I was going to say, I think I probably put too much time and effort into the Forge World ones now. It is what it is, I guess. Alright, thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked the stream, please hit the like button. At some point in the future, I would like to move past all this and stop being so negative about models they cut. It's pretty hard. Like, it ruins the excitement for new models when you just feel like they're only releasing new models to get you to buy more models. Like, they don't care about your current army, even though you obviously, like, you care a lot about your current army. They don't care about it at all. Yeah, and I find it hard to keep up as well, Andrew. I hear you 100%. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow night to talk about army lists. Tune in from about 8:30. And hopefully this week's Wednesday game won't be cancelled. I think Colin said he's going to play me on Wednesday. So I think I'll be able to give the Ballistus Dreadnought a run out on Wednesday and see if it's actually worth it. I think it's probably better to just get another Gladiator Lancer, but that's the one. David says it's nice to know that people are feeling the same. Yeah, David, I don't want it to, like, I've tried to make this channel all about positivity, and like I try not to make videos where I'm just bitching about things. Like, I've unsubscribed to a few YouTube channels that are overly negative. I'm sure you know some of the ones that you see them. I don't need negativity in my YouTube feed. I mean, everyone gets negativity in their life. I don't want it in my YouTube feed. I'll unsubscribe if a channel is overly negative. So I try and stay away from that. But like, it's, yeah. Like I said, I'm glad that I filmed my last couple of tactics videos before all this came out, so that they're just not negative at all. And that's what I want to get back to. Carter, it was really nice to see you again. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Have a great evening. Well, I don't get any free stuff, right? Like, I'm not a content creator or not an influencer or anything like that. I'm just one guy with a camera talking about Blood Angels. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I hope you have a great evening. I'll catch you tomorrow night. Peace.
It is the 41st millennium. Mankind battles for survival across the universe, besieged on all fronts by the heretic, the mutant, and the alien. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. One faction of Space Marines stands amidst the chaos, the mightiest of the Emperor's warriors, and a beacon of light in the darkness. This legion, the 9th Legion of Adeptus Astartes, the Blood Angels.